And Super Tuesday now in the books, and Nikki Haley has suspended her campaign. What are the implications of this narrowing race for both the White House and a U.S. Senate seat in Arizona? Joining me now is attorney A. Scott Bolden, former chair of the D.C. Democratic Party and a former New York Assistant District Attorney. A. Scott Bolden, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, Nikki Haley, big announcement this morning, dropping out of the race for Republican nomination for president after winning just one Super Tuesday contest in Vermont, the smallest and one of the most left-leaning states. She sharpened her attacks on President Trump, however, with every loss and her margins widened. In her concession, Scott, she fell short of endorsing Trump. Political calculation, in your opinion, to pander to some what might call her new base, or sour grapes?
I don't think it was sour grapes. I think Donald Trump represents everything that she believes is wrong with the GOP and dangerous to America. And so she's not ready to endorse him. The other thing is this: where does she go after this, after these losses and suspending her campaign? Where do her supporters go? She got a combination of Democrats, independents, and that 30 to 40% of the GOP that just simply doesn't like, and not going to vote for Donald Trump. Where they go is the next big thing to watch for us who are looking at politics and closely monitoring the presidential election. I don't think she's decided yet. I don't think they've decided. You know, the Biden camp is courting them. Trump's camp is courting them a bit awkwardly, though, because the worse he talks about Nikki Haley, the harder it's going to be to unify behind Donald Trump, because when you unify behind Donald Trump is one way. It's not both ways, as we know, from 2016 and even since then. So it'll be interesting to see what she ultimately does.
Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who for the most part votes along Democratic Party lines, announcing she's not going to be seeking re-election down in Arizona. This is now going to narrow the field down to Republican Kari Lake and Democrat Ruben Gallego in a border state which is already suffering from unprecedented illegal immigration. I believe the Tucson sector reportedly the busiest sector as we speak. Who do you think will ultimately benefit most from her exit?
Well, it certainly will be the Democrat, but I think both of them are going to get some of her voters. You know, she registered as an independent. She was running third in the polling. The Sinema is not a favorite of Democratic voters. As you know, she was a real problem in the Senate when she killed the Voting Rights Act as well as the George Floyd Criminal Justice Act. At least she would not support going beyond the filibuster. So I don't think she had a lot of Democratic support. On the Republican side, I think Kari Lake has that locked up. And so the impact on that race, we'll have to see, but I think it's going to be minimal because she was running third. That race is going to be the line of demarcation and an important swing state between Kari Lake and the Democratic candidate, and it is going to be a microcosm of the Biden-Trump race.
So I'm really curious what you think about this uncommitted protest vote that seems to be gaining traction in the Democratic primaries. You saw in the Michigan primary where almost 100,000 people voted uncommitted. Then you saw, significant numbers in other primaries. I think 46,000 in North Carolina. These are equaling thousands of votes. Do you think that this will ultimately affect President Biden heading into the general election?
If he doesn't go to work on them, it will, especially in Michigan. But listen, the uncommitted voters, which are substantial, that's okay. They're voting their protest vote. But Biden's got to remind them of why they're Democrats, remind him of his legislative record, but more importantly, remind them that if you vote for Donald Trump and you don't vote for me because you don't like what's happening with the Israeli-Hamas war, then you're voting for someone who wanted a complete ban on Muslim travel in 2016. And if you think that's better than Joe Biden and him pushing for a ceasefire, him trying to walk the line with Israel and dropping humanitarian aid, and pushing other Arab countries as well as Israel about a ceasefire that I think ultimately would come about, that's the winning argument for Joe Biden.
Rich, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.